So I have a grand plan today. First 15 minutes, discuss and conclude the data analysis portions. Show you how data analysis is done using using the software, right? So I'm not going to take you through the software, or I'm going to show you the output from the software. I'll show you the research problem. I'll show you the variables. I'll show you the data. Then I'll show you the output. And I'll teach you how to read those output. So you don't need any Z or t-test table or normal distribution table for that manually to check. We can actually check it with a simple statistic called as P. So that I will show you, and I'm going to show you a t-test, how to test a hypothesis with a t-test, and how to do correlation and regression. So that is the first thing we do. And then, today's portions, we have new product development as a chapter, and then we have advertising research as another chapter. So 2 chapters are there. So because now new product development is a very small chapter, I thought by 8 o'clock we should be able to finish that. And then we have 1 chapter, that is advertising research. So we will discuss generally how advertising research is done. And I would like to discuss an example or a small case of Godrej Security Solutions. How this company launched, when they launched their brand, how did they decide on their advertising field? What did they do after advertising? How did they arrive at the creative? And I'll give you a little bit of gyan on that. And then how the advertising, whether it is effective, how was it actually measured? So that is what I would like to do today. So it's a grand plan. Let us see, how much we are able to finish that, because we have 2 hours. So do you remember in the last class, we just looked at hypothesis testing, right? And I told you, whatever we are trying to propose, right, grounded on a theory or logic, that is your alternate hypothesis. And, every hypothesis has got 2 sides to it. One is what you state is right, that is your alternate hypothesis. And the other one is what you state does not change anything. That is your null hypothesis. That without the change, whatever you propose does not matter, right? So that is your null hypothesis. It does not change any status quo. So in your last class, I gave you enough examples for the alternate hypothesis and null hypothesis. Let us today, look at how do we test hypothesis using a report from a software analysis. So there are SPSS, SAS, R, these are all actually softwares which you can use. Even Excel you can use. Excel you can do up to correlation, I think, or regression also. More than that, I don't think Excel has. Okay. So here today, I'm going to, so just try to remember what you tried to do in the last class. Last class I took you through research problem, right? So there is a proposition which gets converted to a hypothesis. So I think I gave you the example of Bitcoins, right? So young people or developed countries, have more adoption to Bitcoins. That was our alternate hypothesis. So there is no connection between development of a country and adoption of Bitcoins is the null hypothesis, right? So then we also looked at adoption becomes a variable, right? So customer satisfaction, if you're measuring customer satisfaction, that becomes a dependent variable. And all those variables which contribute to customer satisfaction becomes independent variable, right? So we had these kind of discussions. So just to, bridge the gap between last class and today's class. So today, I'm actually going to show you, how do you do hypothesis testing with a p-value. So, as in when we come to the output, you can see the p-value. So in manual forms, hypothesis testing, we generally compute the value of the statistics. So you might have done that in your decision class and all that you calculate a value and then you compare with a table. Towards the last pages of your statistics textbook, you have all these tables, right? Normal distribution tables. Then you compare with that value. But in reality, when we test the the values using a software, we don't need to do that. All we need to test is the value of the Z or the T or the F statistics, or compare it with the, this is what we do in manual. We have to value has to be compared with the table value. Whereas here we all we look at is a p-value, right? So probability value or the p-value. Now, what is the p-value? I'll tell you what's the p-value. So whenever we test a hypothesis, we always talk about 95% confidence level or 90% of confidence level, right? There is a 95% confidence level means 95% this variable or this model can explain the data, right? That is 95%. Whereas there is a 5% chance that, this all the variables which we have put together, right? It does not explain what happens in the data, what changes. Say, for example, how does ambience or the taste of a food in a restaurant, contribute to customer satisfaction in a restaurant. So if we collect data and if we say that we are looking at 95% confidence level, that is, the statistician is deciding. So that means there is a 5% chance that, your data may not explain all the data which you've got. It will not explain, the changes in the dependent variable. So that means that 5% is 0.05. 5 divided by 100. That is 0.05. So there is a 5% chance of an error, right? So if your chance is contained within that 5%, your null hypothesis will be rejected. That means whatever you proposed will come true. Food, quality contributes to customer satisfaction. Ambience of the restaurant contributes to customer satisfaction. Low waiting time contributes to customer satisfaction. So those were your variables, right? So that means your p-value, when you are actually looking at the table, I'll show you the table. If that is within 0.05, that means your error is contained within 5%. So if your p-value is below 0.05, you will reject the null hypothesis. That means you accept the alternate hypothesis which you proposed. So what you propose will come true. Okay. At the same time, if your p-value, if you have fixed your confidence level at 90%, so that means what will be the error rate? If your confidence level is fixed at 90%, what will be the error level? Class. Is it too much for you? Only 14 students. Anyone? 10%. Yes, Khalid. So 10% is your error provision, right? So in that particular case, if your p-value is below 10%, means 10 divided by 100 is 0.1. So if your valuation comes below 0.1, so that means if your p-value comes below 0.1, then you can reject the null, or whatever you proposed is true. Got it? So that is the p-value. So every time we do the test, we will only be mostly looking at the p-value to see whether the model is statistically significant or not. Okay. So now let us take example. So what is it that I have written here? Suppose we decide that we want a confidence level of 95% for the test. Assume it is a t-test. Okay. So what is a t-test? You are comparing samples in a t-test and your sample size is below 30. If it is above 30, you do z-test. So suppose now that the computer gives an output that shows the p-value as 0.6067 for the t-test we requested. This value being more than 0.05, at the 95% confidence level, the null hypothesis cannot be rejected because it is 0.067, right? So null can't be rejected at 95%, but null can be rejected at 90%, right? So, but if you are very particular that, okay, this is 95% I have fixed and null cannot be rejected. So whatever you proposed does not come true or does not hold good. So you will, again, you have to maybe, do more theoretical work and try and understand what exactly is the variables which you have left out. Okay. So this is how you will be doing the compare the p values. Then, in again in statistical tests, depending on the number of variables also, you can do certain tests. Some tests can be only be done with certain number of variables. So you have univariate tests where you only use one variable. So number of girls in a class, only one variable, that number of girls. So that is a univariate test. And then bivariate, you're using two variables. So age and maturity, or age and savings. So if you are measuring all these connections, two variables. Multivariate is just multiple variables are there. So I told you, the customer satisfaction example. So the food quality, ambience, lowering of waiting time, all of them. So multiple variables can be there which contribute to customer satisfaction. That is a multivariate analysis. So, in univariate techniques, right? So, when you are actually using one single variable, you have all these tests you can do. So, what is parametric and non-parametric? Parametric means interval scale. You continuous scale. So, so you can do parametric tests such as t-test, z-test. Okay, so these can be done with univariate, parametric data. If you have a rank, data, or nominal data, rank order data, then you can use these tests, chi-square, Kolmogorov, Smirnov test, right? And then you can use these kind of tests. So this is not a part of your exam. This is extra portions. So when you have multivariate techniques, you have interdependence of variables. So in factor analysis, because I think we only looked at the theoretical part from your material last time. So factor analysis is clubbing of 3 or 4 variables together. So all the variables which are connected to an employee, that will be clubbed together. All the variables which are connected to the product of the company, they will be clubbed together. So you are actually clubbing the variables, or you are clubbing the data. All the people who like to purchase hatchback cars, right? So that is cluster analysis. So that is for segmentation. So in the factor analysis, we club the variables. In cluster analysis, we club the data, right? So maybe in the last class, I think we have some emerging techniques and all that. If we get time, I will show you. I am not sure, because we have definitely a limitation of time. So this is interdependence technique. That is cluster analysis, which is used for, in a very simple way, as someone who has studied market research, you need to know that if I'm doing a segmentation of my, market, then I am doing cluster analysis. Okay, and I want to do multi-dimensional scaling, different brands on price and quality, okay, attributes. And if I want to put a perceptual map, I'm using a multi-dimensional scaling technique. So here you have again dependence techniques, where which here you never had any dependent variable. Here you have dependent variables like customer satisfaction, sales. These are all dependent variables. And what is the influence of number of salesmen on sales, right? So that is, you are actually measuring the correlation between number of salesmen and sales, and the impact of the number of salesmen on sales. So you are actually measuring correlation and regression. So can you see here multiple regression? This is a dependence technique. So I think conjoint analysis also briefly we discussed, where in which in order to do product design, companies use conjoint analysis. So these are all given as a 1 paragraph brief in your textbook. So now I'm not going to stop. So now my objective is to show you, how do we really test data, data analysis and read from it. So now, we are looking at one example, that is paired sample t-test. So what is t-test? We are actually comparing 2 samples, and under the sample size will be below 30. So for instance, we may measure somebody's attitude to a brand before it is advertised and after it is advertised. So we have actually an advertising research class coming up in less than an hour. So you can remember this. So we want to know, the attitude of the customer before, the company advertises the brand, and after, the customer sees the advertisement, what is the attitude? Does the attitude change? Okay, so this is the, if you want to do that. So pre-advertisement, post-advertisement. Does the attitude towards the brand changes? So how do we find that out? So you need to actually, make a kind of do a measurement before the advertisement and post the advertisement, right? So to try and find out if their attitude has changed due to the ad campaign, in such cases, a paired sample t-test is the appropriate statistical test, very commonly used in advertising research. So now what is the problem? Assume that we used a sample. Are you all reading? Do you want me to teach this? This is extra portions. I'm just taking some liberty and teaching you or discussing it. Shall I explain these? One regression problem also I'm showing you. How many students I have? 14. Do you want me to discuss this or directly go to new product development? Next chapter, please. So John, you don't want this. Okay. So now that I started t-test, I will explain that. Okay, then I'll go to the next chapter. Because anyway, this is not part of your exam. Okay. So I'll just explain this. And the rest of you can actually, if you are interested, you can look at the PPT. Okay. So Sujan, let us just look at this example. So now, so they went to 18 respondents and they measured the attitude towards the Tamarind brand of garments before and after the ad campaign was released. And a rating of 1 represents brand is highly disliked, and a rating of 10 represents brand is highly liked. So on a scale of 1 to 10, they went and took the test. So this was the input data. So after 3, before, 5. So, you have different data coming in here. This data was entered. Okay, so then, they did the paired comparison t-test. And so this was actually the output. This is the way the output looks. So the SPSS was used. So you can see that before the mean value was 3.277, 1 being the least. After the mean value became 5.778. So is there any significant difference between 3.277 and 5.778? You need to know whether there is a significant difference. If there is significant difference, then, right, so if there is significant difference, then the p-value, two-tailed significant, this is the p-value. This p-value has to be below 0.05. Because this is set at a 95% confidence level. And this is actually 0.000. So that means there is a significant difference between, the pre and the post ratings for the campaign, right? So that is what it means. So that means, and it is more towards the positive side, right? So that means, so you are actually rejecting the null hypothesis. Null hypothesis would have been, there is no difference between the pre-ad rating and the post-ad rating. And when you actually did the test, you came to know that there is significant difference between the pre-ad and the post-ad rating, and therefore you reject the null. Okay. So just like that, I had actually put up a correlation and a regression analysis also. You can actually, if those who are interested can look at it. So now because I'm respecting your opinion, and I am going to use, what happened? You can see me, no? 1 second. Okay, 1 second. I'll share screen. Okay, can you see the screen now? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So you can always tell me if you don't want so much of data analysis. to be done. I will, because I am a data person, so I might have a little bit of, what do you say, inclination to explain this to you. No problem. So now I am going to show you, okay. So now we are going to discuss new product, development. So you know what new product development is. You have done, you have done marketing, right? So now quickly go to what it is. And once new product development is discussed, then I will discuss advertising research. So what is new product